Yes, the rain is here today, although it's actually just kind of drizzling, which isn't too bad. Oh, today one of the light bulbs went out. I actually don't know what type of light bulb this is, so only one of them actually died, so I guess maybe I'll try finding it today. This seems more like a light bulb you'll find at more like, I guess, specialty places as opposed to just your generic supermarket, but we'll see. I usually hate shopping for stuff like this because I'm not too knowledgeable about the prices and so forth, so you're usually inclined to just pay whatever. That's always bad. One of the things that was trending in one of my feeds today, it says today's National Walking Day. I'm like, what's that? I guess basically just from the sounds of it, it's just encouraging people to get out and, walk to get your exercise and so forth, as opposed to people just sitting around all day. I thought that was kind of interesting because for me, I walk all the time usually. And actually, let me pull this out and check this actually. Okay, it's kind of hard to hold with the camera and the umbrella in this. But as you all know, I use this Pokemon Go Plus and stuff for my walking tracking. And I started at about, July 17th when it came out here. And let me just see here. So according to this, I have walked 2,143 kilometers ever since. Keep in mind, this is actually a low estimate number too, because there's times where I don't have internet access, like when I'm hiking. So this is actually lower than it should be. So for a conversion, for those who don't use kilometers, basically that translates to about, according to this, 1,331 miles. And if I'm not mistaken, that means on average per day, it calculates that I walk about 9 kilometers or 5.5 miles about. I don't know, do you guys consider that crazy? To me, it's normal. I know a lot of some of my friends, they say like, what, that's nuts. Although, in my opinion, that's how you get your endurance and stuff like that. And at the same time, I don't see what's so crazy about it, because some people, instead of like walking a lot, they would say, I guess, go to the gym for like an hour or two. I mean, for that time and the money you're spending, in my opinion, it's almost, I guess, the same thing. It just depends on like what's better for your lifestyle. Like I like outdoors and stuff, like hiking and so forth too, so why not? Actually, that brings me to the other news I read, which is kind of, in my opinion, is a little weird, but I guess that's the way it is. Apparently in the US, for that Pokemon Go game, there's a lawsuit for the company where people are complaining that it qualifies as virtual trespassing if people's property has like what's in the game. Like if you guys don't play it, there's things like Pokestops and stuff, like you walk there and you collect like items and all that. Like you don't even have to actually be on the property, but all you do is just like swipe the screen. And people consider that as trespassing. I guess they don't like people walking around, like say, the neighborhoods and so forth. And to my knowledge, just even like spread it to like parks and so forth. But some people tried to ban the game from being in parks. That's a little crazy in my opinion. It encourages people to get outside and so forth. And really, virtual trespassing? Oh, I guess that's just the way it is with technology and stuff. I even said before, I sure know how to pick hobbies, huh guys? Everything from games and drone flying, there seems to be all this controversy and stuff around it. Actually, it stopped raining for a bit, so I put the umbrella away. Perfect time as I get to talk about, I guess, the main thing that I read today, which caught my interest. If I'm not mistaken, this was actually the very first drone seizure, so to speak, ever since the new laws came out. I actually held off trying to talk about it because I wanted to find out a little bit more details, but yeah, apparently today I saw, more clarification and so forth. Right, so for all of you who haven't read it, basically what it is there was a drone in a Red Deer, and basically it says they caught a drone flying on the STARS flight path. So basically the police seized the drone, and ever since then everyone's wondering like, okay, what's going on? Again, to my knowledge, this was the first police seizure of a drone ever since the new laws came in place. Now I was just thinking it's kind of interesting because with news like this, if I was just like a regular individual and I read this and it said like drone near flight path, I think in my mind I would assume what they're talking about is like the drone is flying, say, directly into like the helicopter or whatever, which apparently that's not the case at all. Like I think when they mean flight path, they mean like the whole radius in general. Like if it's even within the vicinity of where the vehicles normally fly, that would count as, within the flight path. So in many ways, I think people basically will read into this more than they should in terms of the safety measures and so forth. There was one thing that one detail that kind of bothered me about this story. Like even before I kind of tried to read like from the other side, like the person that was responsible. If you read here in the article, you can see basically it clearly says it's a Mavic Pro, and do you guys see what's wrong with this? I mean, you can see here, like almost in virtually all of these news articles, none of these are a Mavic Pro. They're basically using pictures of like the bigger drones and so forth, because in my opinion, like why? Like I can see basically maybe it's because they don't have stock photos, but are you telling me you literally cannot go to like say the DJI site or something and say, oh, here's a Mavic Pro and I'm gonna make this photo here? Like, I just think this is like part of the sensational headlines and so forth, because you know it just looks more appealing, I guess, to get the publicity. But stuff like that, like that's just the reason why the public perception of drones and stuff in many ways are so like far-fetched, making people fear things that they're not. Like I guess the Mavic Pro is actually too small to look scary. Okay, so the person responsible for it, to my knowledge, if I'm understanding this correctly, he was doing a commercial video shoot or something like that for something else which wasn't like drone related. But I think he decided afterwards, like, okay, well, why don't I get like, you know, a drone shot for one of his personal videos and so forth. And he basically flew it, like, I gather, like, I don't know this area, but he made like a map of it. And apparently he said he was only flying for 4 minutes, but what happened was he said he used the tap to fly. And basically when you use automated features like that, I guess just like the automatic takeoff in the Mavic, it actually goes up, you know, by itself with a certain distance. So because of stuff like that, he didn't really have full control of it. So basically he tried to like call it back and all that, and to my knowledge he did bring it back, like once he knew there was a helicopter and so forth. And from there apparently, you know, the cops demanded that he give up his Mavic and so forth, and they seized it, and yeah. And other than that, we don't know what's going to happen now, but that's his side of the story. Basically, he said he was ignorant of the laws and so forth. He didn't mean anything by it, and hopes like, you know, he won't do it again. The point that he reiterates is like there was no danger involved. Like he said, it's a stupid idea, but he said the bottom line that he felt it was really overblown, like with the way he's flying it. Actually, the funny thing is when I bought my Mavic Pro, I always thought everywhere like in Alberta and stuff like that were no fly zones pretty much, because I heard like people complaining like specifically in Alberta before. So I was actually surprised, like even now, like the guy would fly this like after all this news and so forth. Although there was one interesting thing, if I'm not mistaken, this guy actually plays video games and stuff like that. And I think we even talked about it before, because people were wondering before like how I even had like the courage to fly like in such close corners and all that stuff. Because I felt anyways like the controller with the Mavics and stuff, it is a lot like playing a video game in many ways, like in terms of the hand and eye coordination. So I was actually kind of surprised this guy's using all those automated features. Like I personally don't even really trust him that much, like even for the takeoff and so forth. I try to do everything manually because I actually want like full control of it in many ways. Actually, I was thinking too how this guy probably has a tricky situation, because if at first he was filming whatchamacallit, videos and stuff for commercial reasons, and then afterwards he brought the drone, it kind of makes me wonder, honestly, like is this like a type of person, for example, that would normally use the drone for commercial purposes but is just trying to stay under the radar, where unfortunately something like this happens and oops. You know, it's kind of hard to say honestly, but I'm trying to like, you know, see both sides of the story and all that, like trying to give weight, because even though I'm harsh on like say the drone laws and stuff, I think I have to be fair as well when it comes to people, I guess, being quote irresponsible, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, just personally speaking too, I would assume someone who does like say commercial film work or whatever, plus being like really high tech, you would be more updated with the laws and so forth. So in that sense, that's the only kind of skeptical part I have. Whether or not this guy truly didn't know that, I don't know. But if I was to like try to play like, you know, fair for both sides, I would say that is the biggest like reservation I have in my mind. And on the other end, like from the media side and the reporting, I don't agree with the way they reported it, like kind of making it sound like it was so deadly close encounter, or at the same time not even using like actual Mavic Pro like pictures, like, as opposed to bigger drones. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, it's a good discussion too, I think. I mean, what would you guys think? I mean, I know for all of us that complain that the laws are dumb and so forth, I mean, if we were to took the government out of this right now, I mean, how would you deal with a situation like this? A guy flying like that, should it just be like, okay, yeah, whatever? Or should it be like, no, I think you should be like fined, so to speak, and if so, like how much? But I'm actually really curious how they handle the situation and what kind of charges he'll end up with in the end, because I think it's kind of important for all of us to know, like whether or not this stuff is like overkill and all. Because some of you even mentioned that you have been like contacted by the police or have been fined, although you haven't actually produced the tangible stuff to show to the public, because I'm actually interested in seeing that. And if you want to actually show that, I mean, pass it on to me. I wouldn't mind talking about it, because I think it's actually an important issue in many ways. Because I know many people think like in many ways the laws or fines are ridiculous when you compare it to, like, say, I don't know, someone doing something wrong with the car and so forth. So it's a good case study in many ways, and it has to be put out there. Holy cow, what is that? Wow, that's interesting. They just eat the whole branch. Someone care to educate me what kind of bird that was? Actually, if I was flying a drone, would it have been wise to fly, like, say, 10 meters away from that just to get like a shot of it? Or do you think that would be too dangerous normally? And they keep growing and growing. Actually, one thing I wanted to do with the drone was go to like a huge flower field of sort and just take like good aerial shots and so forth. Maybe we can still, but we'll see. Okay, this must be a tree day today. I actually see something weird in the tree up ahead. I actually don't know what it is. It looks like something white and so forth. Let's see what it is if we can get a better view. You know, it would have been nice to have my drone here, then I can actually go up and see what it actually is up in the air. Oh, can you guys see that? It looks like a model aircraft, actually. I guess the owner just abandoned it up in the tree here. That always makes me wonder too. I don't know much about model aircrafts, but isn't a drone actually safer to fly? Like, say, the ones that I use, like a Mavic Pro, since you can like literally fly up and down without the need of like a huge like a room, for example, to actually take off. I don't know, maybe I'm just ignorant, but I would assume that's the case anyways. And I think that's kind of actually important to know too, like I guess for those lawmakers, if they're basing all this stuff on things like that. Speaking of walking 9 to 10 kilometers a day, I think I'm almost at my 10 kilometers because this egg is about to hatch. Oh, and look, the egg hatched. Let's see what my reward for walking is today. Okay. Well, that's not too bad. For you that don't play the game anyways, it's okay, I guess. But yeah, it makes walking and stuff fun. I actually encourage people to try stuff like this, as long as you don't feel silly playing like video games and so forth. Then again, there are things like those Fitbits and all that for you to walk and keep track of your steps. Oh, the time's flying. I think I'm falling behind schedule a little bit. Still got my martial arts and stuff to do. I was actually thinking of trying to find like an external mic too, just so I don't have to deal with this wind and stuff all the time. Alright, other than that, I'll see you guys later.